When the Civil War ripped America in two, it didn't just split the nation. It tore families apart. And no family felt this tragic division more than the Crittendens of Kentucky. Their father, John J. Crittenden, was one of the most respected statesmen of his time. He was a senator, a governor, and an attorney general who pleaded, begged, and fought with every political tool he had to keep the Union from fracturing. But the very conflict he tried to prevent would soon invade his own home, turning son against son. Imagine the dinner table conversations in that Kentucky home. On one side, the eldest son, George Bibb Crittenden. He was a career soldier, a West Point graduate who had proven his mettle in the Mexican-American War. George was a man of principle, disciplined and dedicated. But when the Southern states began to secede, he saw it not as rebellion, but as a righteous stand against a federal government that had overstepped its bounds and violated the rights of the states. For him, loyalty to his home state and his principles came first. With a heavy heart, he resigned his commission in the U.S. Army and offered his sword to the Confederacy, where he would eventually rise to the rank of Major General. On the other side of the table was his younger brother, Thomas Leonidas Crittenden. He, too, was a West Point graduate, a man known for his calm demeanor, his unwavering loyalty, and the deep respect he commanded from his soldiers. For Thomas, secession was nothing short of treason. It was a betrayal of the very nation their father had spent his entire life building and defending. He believed the Union was sacred and had to be preserved at all costs. When war broke out, his choice was clear. He remained loyal to the Stars and Stripes, becoming a major general in the Union's formidable Army of the Cumberland. Their father, John Crittenden, a man who had brokered compromises to save a nation, could do nothing to save his own family from the chasm of war. His heart broke as he watched his sons choose opposing flags, preparing to lead armies against one another. He captured the impossible tragedy in a single, sorrowful sentence. "My boys draw swords against each other, and a father's tears cannot stop it." It was a sentiment that echoed in countless households across the divided country. But for the Crittendens, the stakes were magnified, with both sons destined for high command. The first year of the war set the brothers on starkly different paths. George, the Confederate general, found his career fraught with difficulty. He was a skilled soldier, but he struggled with the complex politics of the Confederate high command. He faced accusations and controversies that stalled his momentum and tarnished his reputation. Despite his commitment, he found himself sidelined, his talents seemingly wasted in a cause he deeply believed in. Meanwhile, Thomas, the Union general, was thriving. His quiet competence and steadfast leadership earned him the trust of his superiors and the devotion of his men. He rose steadily through the ranks, his responsibilities growing with each passing campaign. He was proving to be one of the Union's most reliable commanders, a pillar of strength for the Army of the Cumberland. While one brother's star was fading, the other's was burning brighter than ever. As 1862 drew to a close, the gears of war, guided by an indifferent fate, began to grind toward a single point on the map: Murfreesboro, Tennessee. The massive Union Army of the Cumberland was advancing, and the Confederate Army of Tennessee stood ready to meet it. By a chilling coincidence of war, this is where the paths of the Crittenden brothers were destined to cross. Thomas commanded the entire left wing of the Union Army, a force of over 13,000 men. George, though not in a key command role at the time, was present with the Confederate forces, assigned to a smaller command within the same theater of war. As the year ended, on the cold, bleak morning of December 31st, 1862, the Battle of Stones River exploded. It would become one of the fiercest and bloodiest battles of the entire war. The fighting raged for 3 days across a brutal landscape of dense cedar forests, rocky fields, and frozen ground. The air was filled with the roar of cannons and the unending crackle of musket fire. In the heart of this chaos was Thomas Crittenden. His Union wing was hit by a massive surprise Confederate assault on the first day. His lines buckled and nearly broke. But Thomas was everywhere. Galloping through a storm of bullets and shells, he rallied his troops, plugged gaps in the line, and inspired his men to hold their ground against impossible odds. Soldiers who survived that day would later recall that their general seemed to be everywhere at once, a figure of pure calm and courage in the midst of pandemonium. And somewhere on the other side of that same bloody field, his brother George witnessed the carnage. He watched the Confederate assaults, saw the waves of men charging into the Union lines, and felt the tremors of the artillery that was aimed at his own brother's command. We can only imagine what went through his mind. Did he know his brother was commanding the very troops his comrades were trying to destroy? Did he scan the field with his spyglass, wondering if he might catch a glimpse of the man he grew up with? The brothers never met face to face on that battlefield. There was no dramatic sword-clashing duel like something out of a myth, but they were there, breathing the same gunpowder-choked air, hearing the same cries of the wounded, and surviving the same horrific battle while thousands of others fell around them. Back in Kentucky, their father, John Crittenden, received the news that the armies of the Cumberland and Tennessee had clashed at Stones River. He knew both his sons were there. For days, he was trapped in an agony of suspense, waiting for news. In a war where generals were often killed leading from the front, he didn't know if one of his sons had been killed by an order given by the other. The battle had one of the highest casualty rates of the war. For any parent, the waiting would be unbearable. For John Crittenden, it was a unique and personal hell. Finally, the news arrived. Both George and Thomas had survived the slaughter at Stones River. For their father, it was perhaps the greatest relief he would feel during the entire war. His family, though divided by flags and ideologies, had been spared the ultimate tragedy. After the battle, the brothers' paths diverged for good. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as moving as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more hidden histories from the past. See you next time.